Oh.
I'm delighted to be joined by Barry Rogers today. I suppose, Barry, you're starting the Tour de Munster cycle in aid of Down syndrome Ireland this Thursday. Could you just tell us a little bit about the cycle itself?
Sure, Jack. Thanks for having us aboard, as they say. So it's great to have a chance to talk about the tour. So the Tour de Munster is, would you believe it, in its 21st year at this stage. It's been set up and driven by Paul Sheridan, who's Cork based, who's actually a Limerick man as well, actually. So he's the founder, and he puts his heart and soul into it every year and spends a lot of time on it. So we all owe a debt of gratitude to Paul indeed for that. As I said, it's the 21st year of the tour, and it's actually the 11th year that the tour has been partnered with the Down syndrome Munster branches. So most of the funds raised on the tour will go to the Munster branches of Down syndrome Ireland. And to date, in the 11 years, it's raised over €3 million since 2010 for the Munster branches of Down syndrome Ireland. So it's absolutely fantastic, and they're essential funds, obviously. So the cycle itself is quite a spectacle. There's 150 cyclists, and over 4 days we cover all the counties in Munster. So we start on Thursday morning in Cork at the English Market. So we have a grand depart there, as it's called. So we go from Cork and we head up by Fermoy, into Lismore and Waterford, over the lovely V down into Clogheen and Tip, and on from there on to Cahir, Tiptown. And our first stop then on Thursday evening is in Limerick here. So it's great to have it back in Limerick. And the cyclists are spending the first night in the George Hotel in Limerick. We have dinner, and we meet a lot of the Down syndrome Limerick members, so kids and parents and the Down syndrome community in Limerick. So it'll be great to see them once we arrive on Thursday evening. So you can see Fia here is giving me some hints for the interview. Thanks, Fia. Bye-bye.
Yeah. And you obviously mentioned Fia there, but you had a long-standing connection with the cycle ever before Fia came along.
That's right, Jack. So I've always been involved in cycling. So I work in Limerick here, and I used to cycle with some of my friends in work, and they actually knew Paul. So back in 2011 and 12, I managed to get a place on the Tour de Munster itself. So I'd done it twice in a row in those years. So myself and Anya were married at that stage, but we weren't lucky enough to have kids at that stage. So we hadn't started a family. So I'd done the tour twice, and it was involved and partnered with Down syndrome Ireland Munster branches at that stage. So I guess I knew very little about Down syndrome at that stage, but I was quite taken with the organisation of the Down syndrome Munster branches and the fantastic members and families that were involved, and the work and effort that they put in for us on the cycle, and the welcome that we got in each town was fantastic. So roll on, I guess, 10 years later, 9 years later from 2012, we have 3 kids. We have Eilish, who is 8, the eldest. Liam is in the middle, is 7. And then we have little Fia, who is 3, who's obviously, who has Down syndrome. So, obviously initially, when you get the parents get a diagnosis of Down syndrome for their baby, it's quite an anxious time, a lot of worry, and we found fantastic support in Down syndrome Limerick. So we got great reassurance, we got guidance, we found a community and family within Down syndrome Limerick that's invaluable. So I'm delighted this year to be able to take part in the tour and to offer some support and to cycle with parents and members of other Down syndrome branches as well. So it's fantastic. So it's only now really that I fully know the benefits and where the funds raised on the tour are used, because Fia obviously benefits directly from them. So for example, in the Down Syndrome Limerick branch, Fia has done a lot of speech and language therapy, even during lockdown. There was monthly Zoom one-on-one with the speech and language therapy, which we've benefited greatly from. Fia's benefited a lot from. So the main issue with, for example, 2 and 3 year olds like Fia that's living with Down syndrome is to develop the communications skills that they need to progress basically, and to ensure that they can live as independent a life as possible. So, oh bless you! Oh my goodness, that's cute.
It's great. It's great to see and hear what all the children and adults indeed that are benefiting from this cycle in charity. Where can the public, I suppose, offer their donations and support to you?
Yeah, so each cyclist would have an iDonate page set up, Jack, and for the Down Syndrome Limerick branch have their own iDonate to directly support the Tour de Munster as well. So people can go to iDonate/DSL, and you do a search on that, and it'll bring you into the iDonate DSL Tour de Munster page. So it'll be fantastic if people can show their support for the cause.
And there's also going to be bucket shaking as well on the Thursday. So out in Newcastle West, out in County Limerick, and inside in the city centre as well. So if you see anybody around the city as well, support them.
That's lovely. We'll definitely have the link underneath this, and we'll have a reminder on Thursday that there'll be bucket shakers in Newcastle. I suppose just for your own self, Barry, 600 kilometres. Like, what's the training like for that?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to get a place on the tour this year, earlier in the springtime, Jack. So the training, we go out typically twice a week and try and do maybe one long spin and one short spin. So, you spend maybe 2.5, 3 hours on the bike for the long spin, and the short spin an hour and a half. So it's a great excuse to get out of the house, Jack, to be honest with you, with 3 young kids. So I enjoy cycling anyway, and I'd say everyone on the tour, even from newbies to more experienced, they have a love and enjoyment from cycling. So, what I say about cycling on the tour is I'm doing something I love for someone I love. So I won't spend 4 days in a better way, really. And another key point, sorry, Jack, that I should have mentioned was all the funds raised by cyclists for the Tour de Munster go directly to the Munster branches of Down syndrome. So that's a key point as well. All the cyclists pay for their own accommodation and meals on the tour. So any funds raised go directly to the cause. So it's great.
Yeah, that's brilliant to hear. And just before I finish up with you, just for you as cyclists, you mentioned that you're going through every county in Munster. Can people join in for a leg of the tour if they want, or is social distancing putting a damper on that?
No, if people would like to join us for a few miles along the road, they'd be certainly more than welcome.
And is there somewhere we could find
when Barry did the tour in 2011, 2012, that was the one thing I think you mentioned, Barry, that you had, along the way there was always supporters out, and there was always people along the road supporting them at different stages, and it really keeps the morale going throughout the whole cycle as well.
Is there anywhere we could find an actual route, just so we know where you're going to be at any given time?
So the Tour de Munster itself has a Facebook page, Jack, and it also has its own dedicated website. So details of the route for each day over the 4 days will be on there.
That's perfect.
And just in terms of the cycle, Jack, there's about 150 cyclists, so there's actually 10 or 11 pelotons. So it's quite an operation on the road. So we have support vans, and we have motor recycle outriders for junctions and for safety point of view. So even if you don't join us on a bike, it's certainly worth seeing us passing through towns and stuff, just for the racket that we make and the bit of fun that's involved.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people come out to support and encourage you and obviously donate. So just before we go, Barry, you might just tell us all those links again and just about Newcastle, just so people know where they can support, because it's definitely a brilliant cause.
Yeah, sure. So if you want to support the fundraising activities of Down Syndrome Limerick, with regards to Tour de Munster. So I donate /DSL, and there'll be a page in there with where you can support the Tour de Munster through the Down Syndrome Limerick I Donate page. And there's a tourdemunster.com is the dedicated website, so you'll find route details on there and further more information. And there's also a Tour de Munster Facebook page, obviously.
That's perfect here, Barry. The best of luck with that, and I'm sure we'll be in touch afterwards just to see how the fundraising has gone and just to see how the cycle itself goes.
Thanks very much, Jack. Thanks for